And so I'm in this job for a couple years, and about 2 years in, I'm sitting there I mean, I've got the bright lights on top of me. I'm sitting in a cubicle. All of the people around me are, 40 years older than me. I've been around no young people. First and foremost, completely on me it was on me to go and be successful there. Like, if I were to talk to my younger self and he tried making excuses, hey, listen, it's on you to go do that. But that's beside the point. I'm in this job and I'm like, good Lord, so I need to do something. Like, I don't know what, but it can't be this. And so I just start my own podcast. I started with my good friend Jack, also left-handed, also born in July. We made a co-dating app, and I made sure to imply that we were also both over 6 foot. Yeah, but anyway, anywhere that we would go, we'd kind of hold court. We would, if we were to go out together, we were entertaining people and talking with people, and they enjoyed to be around us. We're like, hey, let's start our own podcast. I think people like our conversations. Why don't we, this is how everyone does it, right? Oh man, that person should start a podcast. They're so interesting, or they have people would love to listen to them talk. And so we started it, and I think when people think that, you think, oh yeah, there's so much more that goes into it than just, because you have a good conversation, people are going to want to watch you. You have to market it correctly. You have to put out the right feelers and intros and teasers in order to get people interested. You have to structure your episodes a certain way. You have to make sure that the conversations are flowing. You have to make sure you're not cutting off the other person too much. Make sure that you're not active listening with the mm-hms. Yep, mm-hmm. Because that distracts people. There are 1,000 different things that go into that podcast that people don't realize. And so I started to figure that out, and I learned it the hard way, right? We were doing it, and we were started to gain an audience, and we were getting 200 to 300 to 500 to 600. Like, after we started building this up, we were crushing it. But in order to get to that point, we had to fail over and over and over again. The amount of times that I missed a cable, or I have probably over 100. This may not be an exaggeration. I probably have over 100 episodes that just were never released because the audio was terrible, or the video quality was terrible, and the angles weren't correct, or I missed a cable, or one of the cables didn't go in. Like, when I first bought, the very first time I ever tried starting, they're the USB cables is what they call. XLR cables are what most podcasts use, and I guess when I was looking them up, they were also called USB cables. I bought a micro USB cable for an audio box that took only XLR cables. So I was like, well, what the... I at that point, I'm like, okay, I might as well just quit, man. Because, I don't even know what's going on here. Might as well just quit, because I'm literally one step into starting my podcast, and I have completely missed the mark already. So, but anyway, yeah, so just the failure. God, the failure. Oh, it was over 1,000 different things, and I burned through money. Because I was a hard worker, and because I didn't have any college debt, which was a goal of mine for a long time, I'd saved up $30,000 at this point. And my expenses were low. I was just, I'm not a big spender. I had saved up $30,000, and that number just started going down very, very fast, because I'm buying equipment, and I wasn't even selling it. Like, I wasn't returning it. I would use it and fuck it up. And so, God, well, I look back at that, I'm like, what a waste. Yeah, I'm just thinking about, every screw up that happened. It was the microphones we had. They were good at first, and then they would start echoing like 30 minutes in. And then, so we would get halfway through it, and then we would try to spread them out further away from each other, and then we're yelling at each other across the goddamn room because we're so far away from each other. The webcam, like the camera quality that we had was like, not doing this with a professional setup, you just can't do anything with it. And yeah, it was just an absolute mess. Not even to mention the distribution platforms that you had to put it to, and going through getting it onto Spotify and Apple and YouTube, and making sure that these were all titled correctly, and putting all that. That was so far off into the future. So we would just put it to YouTube, because at least I knew how to do that. And then, you go from that. People think that they can start their own podcast, or they can run that. You're getting 10% of the potential you can get out of it, because you have to go and edit these also, right? And I don't even want to get into the editing, because that is all something in and of itself. The hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours, and the sleepless nights of figuring out how to just edit this thing so that it is halfway decent. My God. it felt like it was endless, just ridiculous. So if the cameras, if you had multiple people on the show and you're editing and you don't have the proper software and you don't know how to use it, you have to, every time someone talks, you have to go manually cut to them in the timeline, in the audio or in the video track. And you would have to, it would take, like, so I would be taking 15 hours for a 45-minute episode, which is an absurd amount, right? And you don't realize that unless you either are working with someone that already knows how to do it, or you're figuring out yourself the way that I did.